Hello, my name is Mary. Welcome back to my channel. The purpose of this video is to introduce my 20 in 2020 list and to basically relaunch my channel as a place where I hold myself accountable for my micro goals for 2020. If you're already a subscriber, then you likely know that I started this channel to track what began as a no-buy 2019. I sort of crashed out of that no-buy on my birthday on July 1st, an interesting halfway point. At least I made it 6 months. And then I kind of converted to a low buy, which was fairly effective in the beginning, but a low buy without a budget is not a low buy. As you can tell by the boxes that kept appearing magically on my front stoop. This is what I'm working off of. I did post this over on my Instagram. I'll link my Instagram channel below. Generally, my Instagram is more culinary personal, and my YouTube channel is more reflective in my beauty and consumerism habits. I hope you do find some value in this channel for that camaraderie if you are attempting to rein in your own consumerism, whether it's because of debt or because you're concerned about your carbon footprint impact. Just imagine the harm to the environment every time I receive a little piecemeal package that perhaps flew from across the country. So that's also that's a factor that you don't hear discussed that often. I believe it was the Washington Post recently had an article about if you're really concerned about the environment, perhaps you should rein in your red meat. Well, I'm not suggesting any kind of political manifesto. That certainly is food for thought. I will be unboxing this package from Chanel, and I will be playing around with my Natasha Denona palette, which was part of a Black Friday haul from Natasha Denona. So this may be a longish video. I have to sort of trick myself into reflecting and speaking. I'm not naturally a loquacious person. I'm sort of a very internal person. Other benefit of this channel for me is it's just a way for me to practice mining my pensive for those thoughts and forcing myself to articulate them verbally instead of in writing, which is my natural. Let's do the look first. I will put timestamps below if you're interested. The personal attractions to me of cosmetics is I really do enjoy that self-care ritual, that time to collect thoughts and be quiet with yourself in order to begin your day or center your day. First product, please don't feel that I'm suggesting you need any of these products. Of course, you don't need any of these products. These are just products that are in my stash and that I really need to begin using in order to consume them, which is the whole purpose of consumables. This is the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base. I already have my skincare on, but this is kind of a way to add an additional protective layer before I use the foundation that I've selected for today, which has a little bit of alcohol in it and is a little bit drying. All right, so this will create that barrier, and I do feel it is slightly blurring. I've owned this for over a year. I have a crap ton. It's time to use it. Next step, of course, will be my foundation. Since my package is from Chanel, and since I've also owned this foundation for over a year, this is the original Chanel formula of the Perfection Lumiere Velvet. I do very much enjoy the foundation, but again, in the winter time, it tends to be just a little bit drying on my skin. And I have forgotten my beauty blender. If it's streaky, I'll have to run in there and get my beauty blender. All right, so just squeezing out a dollop. This is in the shade 20. Chanel's foundations are fairly consistent for me. Many people prefer applying this one with fingertips, so we'll see how far I get with that. If I got rid of some of the peach fuzz on my cheek, it would be super smooth. Has a lovely finish. Powdery finish, I would say. I'm not going to take it over my eyes because of the alcohol in the formula. Although it feels a little powdery, I feel that it is fairly skin-like. I might as well take a little detour now and talk about some of the content that I'll be focused on this year. I will be continuing to do a team project pan, the one that's hosted by our Australian friends, Kat and Haley, and their channels are Kit Stitch and Just Buy the Makeup, which I will link all those channels below. Concealer, I've got this little broken capillary mark on the side of my nose. Just going in with the faintest bit of concealer, and I will take it onto my lids to function as a lid primer. Clé de Peau powder, but the only place I'm going to powder or set is that little bit under my eye. Look how super fine this powder is. I love it, and I'll set the lid as well. I am going to run off camera, do my brows. When I come back, we'll bust into that Biba palette. I've done a lot of playing around with that palette, and I really do adore it. And then we'll bust into that package that was on my step and get to my 2020 goals. All right, brows are on. Let's get some bronzer just on my cheeks. If you followed me last year, I'm still working through my Bobbi Brown illuminating bronzer. I hit pan, I believe, about halfway through 2019, and it is just still churning along. I do really enjoy this bronzer. I do like this one. I feel it's a very natural bronzy look for my skin tone. I'm going to do something today that I haven't yet done. One way I like to approach this palette in terms of experimentation is to break it into quads of these color families that are adjacent. So I feel like today I'm going to go a little more dramatic with this quad right here. I will go a blend of tar and sculpture in the crease and rayon to deepen the outer V, and a little pop of shimmer with this Monroe right here. Tar, sculpture, Monroe, and rayon. Yeah, I think we can work with that. If it's a disaster, it's just playtime, right? So who cares? It's just makeup. We can wipe it off. My brushes are kind of dirty, so I'm going to spot clean them on a makeup wipe. Going in with my Tom Ford 13. It's a natural hair. I was able to pick it up at an outlet mall. I'm going to go in with sculpture, this lighter gray, tapping and bringing it across my lid and my crease. A little bit up onto the hood. Just concentrating on the crease now and building the intensity. Bring a little bit of that color underneath as well. You know how sometimes you absolutely have a crap product and it becomes a favorite? That's what has happened with this Sephora brush for underneath my eye. There is the base of sculpture. Now I'll go in with tar with a smaller Wayne Goss. This is the Wayne Goss number 20. Going in to emphasize this outer third with tar. Kind of a neutral, coolish gray, and I am bringing that up into the crease as well. If you study the history of art, you'll know that it's traditional for shadows, especially on the flesh, to have warmth in them. So that's how I'm going to use this rayon shade, which is a sort of a warm, rusty burgundy. I will go in with the same brush into the rayon. Tap onto the outer V to warm it up. Going for a little more intensity to build the chroma. I'm going to pull a little bit of that rayon down below. Just in the outer third. For the top shimmery shade, I'm just going to use my ring finger This again is the Monroe. Which is very goldy. Capping it out just to be sure it's not uneven. That is the eye. I like it. It is time to open the box because I know, of course, what's in here, and I would like to use both of these products from Chanel. So this will be kind of an unboxing. And this is the lovely Chanel packaging. They are kind enough to put the invoice in their little Chanel envelope. This is my box. Little faux wax seal. And there is my loot. Okay, so I can't juggle this with one hand, so I will just show you my two samples. Always package the samples in this cute little synthetic fabric bag. Feels like nylon. And I got a sample pack of the, oh, this is the updated foundation. The new formulation of the Vitalumiere Velvet is called Ultra Latent Velvet. And I have samples in 20, 30, and 40. So that'll be very useful. Absolutely 20 is usually my shade. In different Chanel foundations, that 20 shade will lean either peachier or more neutral. So I'm very happy to have that to play around with, although I will be talking about my rules for replacement products coming up here in a moment. And I also got a sample of the sample pack of the Chanel Ink Fusions. Oh, so that's fun. A neutral and then some brighter colors. Very nice. However, the purpose of the order was to buy one of the Stilo U's in purple chalk. Thank you, Abby Bliss White, for being so enthusiastic about this that I could not resist. And I will be using this today. Here, this is the waterproof Stilo. Going really up into those lashes. Oh, what a great color. I would say it's a lightly shimmery purple chalk. I love it. I'm very happy to have that as part of my stash. The second purchase from Chanel was a blush because I absolutely adore their blushes, and I've been looking for one that's a little more neutral than what's currently in my stash. This is color 02 Rose Bronze. Comes in a little velveteen pouch. Did I need it? No. Did I want it? Yes. My light's a little bright. There you go. I do absolutely adore Chanel blushes. They have the prettiest sheen, and the color is just a breath. Truly a breath. And yet I would not say they lack pigmentation because they do last quite some time on the skin. I can get a full day's wear out of them. Because that box arrived in 2020, those two products will be coming out of my budget. Let me just finish up this look. I'm going to pop on some mascara and then we'll talk. Combination I've really been enjoying in the dry winter months is my Charlotte Tilbury Lip Cheat in Pillow Talk, topped with the Clé de Peau gloss in the shade Charm. I have very short hair. I don't need to worry about flyaways getting into my mouth, but this Clé de Peau gloss sort of feels more like a lip oil, but it's beautifully pigmented. I do very much enjoy the Biba palette. I think you can get numerous pretty looks with that fairly neutral palette. I am very happy to have the purple chalk. I knew I would love it. Let's talk about 20 in 2020 and what some of my channel changes will be. Again, a low buy without a budget is pointless. There's no accountability and there's really no, the purchases just tend to multiply by themselves like little gremlins, and they wreak disaster with not just the affordability, but it's more in terms of, do you really need everything you want? Obviously no. Is it healthy to consistently just act on impulse? Obviously that's a rhetorical question. The clutter and the headspace that operating on a whim consumes is just unmanageable, and the clutter that it results in is unmanageable. So let's just run down my list, and I like working off a list. I will then expound on those as required. 20 for 2020. First micro goal is to listen more. And this is across all domains of my life. I feel that I am typically, because I'm an internal person, I'm typically more immediately involved in my own thoughts and responses than I am with what's happening around me. And that lack of balance can lead to relationship problems, can lead to conflict in obviously multiple domains. I work with adolescents every day. I teach 11th graders, and I just feel that reflecting back on my 5 years of teaching in public schools. Before that, I taught in a private fine art atelier. The primary skill of a teacher, I believe, especially with my personal philosophy, has to be that you're a guide. You are there to listen, and you are there to subtly guide that student towards cultivating their own critical thinking abilities. So listen more is, I feel, absolutely my number one target for 2020. Number 2, declutter studio and mind. Those two are completely interrelated, and they're also related to my shopping patterns. So you cannot acquire every new release. You cannot acquire every new piece of clothing, every new shoe, every handbag, every shade of nail polish. It just leads to a cacophony of clutter and conflict and headspace that does not free you up to develop more interesting aspects of your personality. I think creative sorts are almost stereotypically have messy desks, messy work areas. They can thrive in that stew of chaos, but at a certain point you also need to have a blank sheet of paper, a blank canvas, a blank space where you can back up and get that distance on your work, whatever your work is. So that is goal number 2, declutter. In terms of my content for this channel, a series of videos will be coming up on decluttering and capping my stash at a reasonable size. So I feel like I'm there with eye brushes, for instance. I do not need, nor will I purchase any more eye brushes in 2020. I just don't need them. Same for makeup face brushes. With these 2 brushes, all of my bronzing needs are finished. I do not need another bronzing brush, for instance. This is a lovely buffing brush. I do not need any additional buffing brushes. Once I go into my foundations stash, there will be some that I will be focusing on using up, and I will not be purchasing any additional foundations until I consume the consumables that I've already purchased. Number 3 is draw or write every day on paper. That's kind of a personal goal. It's where my true inner passions are, writing and drawing, and I've neglected both of those for too long, professionally and personally. Number 4, read 25 books this year. That you would think would be a no-brainer for an English teacher, for a high school English teacher, but honestly, I have to really strive and carve out time for my personal reading during the school year. I tend to prioritize my students and their achievements before my own reading. So that is my goal. I'm going to stick to it. Number 5, stick to a budget. All right, I mentioned with that Chanel order, my budget will be for hair care, cosmetic, fashion, anything consumable, anything that wears out. Aside from general household groceries, my budget will be $200 a month. Because that Chanel order came in 2020, that counts against my budget. I purchased a bullet journal so that when it arrives will come out of my $200 budget. What that means is it's only the second and I don't have very much of my monthly budget left, and that's okay. I feel like this will be a month of purging, and yeah, that budget is a hard number. I will be accountable for it, and I will track that on my YouTube channel. Number 6, more authentic voice on YouTube. Now, I don't know what this means. It just felt like something that I need to lay out there for reflection. My channel is teeny, but I enjoy the creative outlet. I enjoy holding my feet to the fire. I enjoy playing with that theater of identity. All of those things will continue to happen on my YouTube channel. And I guess with authenticity, what I mean is I probably over-compartmentalize my life, being a very internal person in the context of a project that I asked my students to do, and in the context of showing them that it's okay if you're not good at something. It's the only way to become good at something is to do it. I've sort of thrown my YouTube channel out as a, hey, look, I'm an idiot, but I'm trying, I'm learning, I'm cultivating myself, I'm working on my skills on camera, etc., etc. So it's not about finding a shtick. I'm not talking about, and there are some channels out there, some beauty channels, that have just landed on really interesting shticks, right? They have a vibe, they have a thing that they do that they're known for. I'm just kind of a middle-aged creative, and working with the camera is not something I'm very good at, but that's okay with me. Bungling. So I don't know what authenticity means, but I feel that there's some YouTubers who I absolutely adore for their authentic selves. And in that regard, this form of social media, building this community, is super valuable to me, and I just hope to sort of cultivate that self. Number 7, work week detox. No adult beverages. This is tied into some of my health goals. It's tied actually to the inner tube that I have on my middle-aged girth, and I married a runner, and because of our relationship, I've been much healthier with my exercise. It's important to me, and part of that is my metabolism and hormonal changes. I just can't burn the calories that I used to be able to burn. So no adult beverages because of the empty calories during the work week, starting next week, because I go back to work next week, so that sounds like a good thing to do for me. We're on number 8, track workouts, running and weights. That's just my general health. I'm not looking to drop weight. I'm looking to drop the inner tube around my girth. I'm looking to put on lean muscle and shed fat. More podcasts? Absolutely. If you have any favorites, please do share them below. I love the format. I incorporate it in my classroom. It's truly a fascinating medium. Number 10, no tech after 8 p.m. That just makes sense to me. I try to be in bed by 9 on a work week, and there are just other aspects of my mind that I'd like to cultivate that do not happen if I am mindlessly surfing through my email or online shopping or watching YouTube videos. Number 11, hydrate. I don't drink enough water. And I have a little side note here, tag team bathroom breaks with Miss B. So my classroom shares a door with the adjoining classroom, And honestly, why not? I need to drink more water, and that might mean I need to open that door and say, hey, Miss B, would you mind watching my class just for a moment? So it can be really unnatural to ask people for favors, but I'm happy to offer her the same. I adore her. She's really a fantastic teammate. 12, plan 2 dates per month. I think that's really important, and that means date as in get out of the house and go do something. It doesn't have to be a restaurant. Because we were both chefs at one point, it can be really easy to be disappointed, but we have things like, we have a harness track as part of the Pinehurst Resort where it's actually a horse track where they harness race, and we like to go out there with the dog and either walk or run or play frisbee, what have you. That certainly could qualify as one of those dates. We also have in Pinehurst here, we have a frisbee golf course, and in the winter, it's fun. During the summer, I had an experience where I looked down and saw the biggest cottonmouth snake, this big around, coiled up about a foot away from my foot, and my dog was off leash right next to me, and that was pretty terrifying. I have a very vivid imagination and lost some sleep over that one. But in the winter, when the snakes are hibernating, that sounds like fun to me. Track vitamins, that's pretty straightforward. Bullet journal, I will be sharing some of that on this channel. Purge closet, that needs to happen. That's part of sort of an expansion of that declutter idea. Number 16, cook one new thing each week. I really enjoy, again, my husband and I were both chefs. I really love cooking, but by the time you've hit midlife, it can be monotonous and we can sometimes settle into a rut, and I have a wall full of cookbooks that I will share with you as well, and it's time to tap into those and experiment and play. 17, get more use from Instant Pot. Right now I sort of use my Instant Pot for cooking garbanzo beans for hummus and making yogurt. So I'd like to just branch out from those two staple foods. Unsubscribe from marketing emails. I will be doing that by the end of the day today. Follow through on funding opportunities for the classroom. I will be setting up a Donors Choose. There are some books that I would like for my students to have access to. 20, more outdoor time with Fergus, my aging dog. Those are my 20 micro goals for 2020. It will impact my channel content. I will be uploading 2 videos a week, come hell or high water. I would like to be consistent on the days, so I will say Tuesdays and Thursdays. That is a firm commitment. Some of those will be budget videos, some of those will be empties videos, some of those will be, I will be doing a Project Pan, Team Project Pan 2020, and I just would love to hear from you. I would love to cultivate more of a community here on YouTube. I've found so much value by watching all of your content. Thank you so much for joining me. Please do hit like if you enjoyed this content. Subscribe if you're interested in sharing my journey. Pop on over to Instagram and follow me over there. My username, as you can see, is MQDurance. While you're there, say hello to Jill Christ, whose original 20 for 2020 list inspired this whole thought process in my world. Thank you, Jill. I wish you all a restful, peaceful, balanced entry into this new decade, 2020. It does have kind of a nice ring to it. Thank you again for joining me. Ciao.